All right, well, I got 12 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and start this gathering of the two for the informational purposes. So, everybody, there's some copies of a discussion topics, some minutes from the April 11th meeting on another copy of, if you have never received one, another copy of the grant, the initial grant, and the award of the grant is still up there again. And then there's another copy for everybody that weren't here last month that we gave them out last month. Been provided to the commissioners before, and another copy of the colored timeline for the school up there. And then, so that basically goes over item one. Just giving you all the information that's laid out there and where we're at on that part. New school funding, funding distribution update. I'm gonna let Dr. Cheeseman start. I think there's probably some questions over that, so I'll let go.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Super excited. If you haven't been here before, capital needs-based public school grant. Really excited about it. $42 million grant award from the state. Very thankful to our county commissioners for a $10 million grant match award. So that's where the budget sits. And in terms of just funding distribution right now, we're working with Mr. Maughan at the state level DPI to walk through the planning materials that we have to follow. And at this time, we've not actually dispersed any monies for any type of thing. I understand that you may actually have a funding drop coming, but we've actually not submitted anything to actually be paid at this time. So in this moment, nothing has been spent. We're still in the very, bless you, still in the very early stages of learning the dynamics of what we need to do and documentation and where all that follows. But right now, we've actually spent $0 of the grant so far.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. You gotta push it hard. Yep, there you go.
Okay, thank you. So Dr. Cheeseman, if I could get the name of that individual you just mentioned that you're working with at the state, I just got a lot of questions about, on the county side, how we set up that capital project fund, and I think that would be a great contact for me.
Yeah, so, go ahead and look at page 5 of the application. And 3/4 of the way down where it says application submittal. Yep, all of his information is there. And what I've learned in my experience, it's best to email him because he's just one person in a division, so you may not get him on the first 5 calls. But then send him an email and then he'll eventually get back to you. All right, thank you.
Okay. He stays hot.
Thank you. Just real quick, so relating to funding and the way the funds flow, Article 37, the general statutes talks about erection of school buildings. There's a section in there that talks about the Board of Education adopting a governing policy about change orders and how you deal with those. Has that already been done, or is that something to come?
No, that has to be something to come
Okay.
since we're so early in the process of it.
Do y'all have any more questions? And does any public have any questions about the fund distribution update as where we're at in the process? We're very open about this. If you, the ones that were here last time, that as we get done with one of the items, I'm gonna ask if you got the public has a question, so if we don't have the answer, we can get the answer.
TW?
Yes, sir.
Just so that everyone's aware, on Monday night, we did move $10 million into a reserve fund for the new school.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing everybody raise their hands about funding update, I'm gonna go ahead and move down to number 3, design consultant services. Jimmy Heights got a progress update, and where we're at. Mr. Jimmy, you just gotta push it hard, sir. Yep, you're hot.
Okay, does that work?
Yep.
Okay, so we provided some preliminary floor plan designs based on our initial meetings with staff. We revised those based on what we heard, comments, and we have followed up with staff to let them see what we've done. We had a few more comments and those plans have been revised to reflect those final comments. We have the plans ready now for staff to look at to make sure that what we talked about has been incorporated in those plans. On the building site, we finally gotten our survey. We got that, got our final survey this week, and we're in the process of reviewing that and refining the possibilities and placement of the building and drives and utilities and all those sorts of things. And that'll be a process that we'll need to work closely with you folks about and Jamie and to move forward with that. We are still in schematic design, but we're trying very hard to wrap that up in the next few days. We're actually doing some of the work in the phase that's called design development that we know we can do, which are construction details and things like that. So we'll try to accelerate as best we can the design development process moving into construction documents, and then there'll be reviews along the way with everyone until we get to the point where we're ready to have the agencies review it, and then of course after that would be your approval to let the job for bid.
Anybody got any questions for Mr. Height? Yes, sir, Mr. Richardson.
I have several questions. How much money has been allocated for these buildings themselves?
The preliminary estimate for the buildings themselves is $40,568,100, and I'm reading from the November 16th, 2023 estimate that we prepared, and it's called the Design, Construction, and Equipment Budget.
Is that available?
Oh, yes, sir. And was it not in the package last month? I
Well,
think,
it should come to the commissioners.
okay.
The $40 million for the building, how much is allocated for contingency?
915,322.
That's a very small percentage. 1 million, that's, how much? 2%, that's kind of low. 1 million contingency. What, how much money is in there for, furniture for the new building?
Cafeteria furnishings. 500,000 is allocated for integrated communications equipment and technology, and these are outside the building figure that I gave you. There's supplemental media center equipment. We have a maker space, which is a place where kids can experiment with robotics and things like that. It's part of the media center. We've got $10,000 allocated for that, and then the kitchen small wares, which basically are pots and pans, $10,000 for that, and custodial equipment at $80,000.
How many students is this designed for?
The capacity of the design is 973, and that is taking each of the classrooms with the DPI classroom number attached to it, which comes out to 973.
How many students do we have enrolled in these two schools now?
The exact figures between the two of them would just be just over 800.
800.
Yeah, just over 800, but I can get an exact attendance total today.
Well, we're building almost a 20% growth factor into this in a county that has zero growth. How is that justified?
I'm sorry, is that a question for me?
Oh, well, who wants it?
Well, just a comment, TW.
Yeah, you go first, yeah.
At the commissioners level, we have had some discussion in our planning session and working, I think, with making this point to the school system and to the do our best to grow our industry and our economy, to pulling people in here, and that we will have some growth in the future. For the first, in new home construction, beginning to get young. You know, it has to have some kind of, growth. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but it does have to have some addition. I want to build it for 800 students.
If you build it for 800 students, then the first complaint's gonna be, we had to stick a modular out back because this whole building is under classroom law.
Right.
This whole building is under classroom law by the General Assembly.
I mean, I don't think that capacity number is too bad.
Now, you have to be really careful about how you look at the number as well, because it is class size law. So you can only put a certain amount of students in a certain amount of spaces. So you need to have additional space. These numbers also are contingent upon pre-K numbers as well. So you're probably going to be in the mid 800s by the time you add in pre-K as well. Closer to that 900 number.
But, so where are the numbers by 20%?
Just talked about
I just explained it.
About it.
Yeah.
There's Eastern.
I don't see any numbers that justify 20%. Nobody has said we have a growth rate of such and such, or this or that. It's a subjective opinion, not based on fact. 20% overbuild is kind of harsh.
Well, not when you have a goal and you're trying to have some strategy to increase the number of people living in the county and have young couples move in here that are working, that may have kids, and we may have the need for it. So,
That all sounds good, but you've got a school system right now that's only 50% of the space in the school system as a whole is being used. And here we're going and building another 20% into this thing. And the growth rate in Beaufort County, you've got to look, when you do projections for future use, you have to have something that's factual rather than somebody's opinion that this is just something that's good.
We'll
So,
take.
Growth rate. Have you analyzed growth rates for this school or for this area that this school's
You
gonna
did a
serve?
study,
I don't think you
yes.
have from what you're telling me.
Yes, we look at the census data, and of course, Beaufort County is declining in the census data to to Beaufort County. We got more weekenders coming than we do, long-term residents, because I see it every day. So, yes, we take it all into account, and yes, we'll take your notes into account and make sure we get the documents correct, and make sure we revisit the numbers and the stuff with Mr. Height. And
I
make-
would like
Yeah.
to see the standard type of projection that's done for growth for projects like this based upon factual information rather than how people feel or what they think. That's how we got to a school system now that is only half full. Because we walked around and everybody said, oh, this looks good, this looks good. Nobody had any numbers, they just used what they thought, and they were drastically wrong.
So right now, between Eastern, John Cotton-Taylor, between kindergarten through grades 3, including pre-K, I'm sitting somewhere around 860, maybe 863 kids right now, as of what attendance would look like today.
That's direct off of Power School today,
863.
863.
Yeah, 863 is probably what I'm looking at.
Push it up to is a 10% overbill, and that's probably still too high. Consider that you've got a school system that you're only using half of the space that you have built.
Okay, well noted. We'll look at it and go from there.
Well, does that mean that there's a possibility that this building will be downsized?
I can't tell you yes or no. We got to look at, make sure the data looks at and go backwards and look at it from Mr. Height's standpoint, from the designer.
Who came up with the number of 973 students? If that's the case, I mean, how did you get to where you are? You should have a paper trail of how you got where you are, unless you're just guessing.
So DPI puts together enrollment projections every year. And so they ultimately come in with student enrollment projections where you see things truly become variable. It's the number of pre-K kids that always come in as well. And that's why when we bring budgets to you as a commissioner and to the county manager each year, we say, here are the number of K-12 students, but don't forget about the enrollment numbers of pre-K. Those enrollment numbers of pre-K are up this year. Based off of, just COVID of 4 years ago, those numbers are rising. And so in short, we look at whatever DPI is giving us. So yes, I could get a paper trail of that. I'm also telling you of what's in attendance today. All right, so that's kind of where we are. That's how it's actually reviewed. Mr. Height's not picking a number arbitrarily. He's looking at what DPI has provided in terms of projection enrollment.
Can I get copies of those DPI projections for?
Anybody can request it. Anybody can request it from the state, yes.
You're saying that I need to go to the state and get that?
Well, if you're asking me to give it to you, I'd be happy to give it to you, but
Yeah,
you
I'm
asked
asking
me,
you to- I'm asking you to do your job.
Thank you.
Produce the information that you're using to base your decision on.
Absolutely, I'll do that for you.
All right?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, I just did the math, so if the current enrollment is in fact around 863 and the new school's being built for 973, that's a 12% increase.
That's still too high.
I'm just telling
Well,
you the math.
can I ask where you're getting your numbers for, what your thoughts are, so we could make sure we got your thoughts into our equations?
My thoughts are what's used in projects, sizing projects like this, when you have a 0% growth rate. How high should you go, providing for the future?
Okay.
The answer is not very high.
Okay.
Not 12%, not 10%, not 20%.
All right?
Let me just offer one thing.
Okay.
that might-
You're the expert here
it
to
might-
deal with
Well, it
schools.
might make sense, it might not. So if you've got a school, including pre-K, you've got 5 grades. And you want to distribute the classrooms fairly even among the cohort. So if you're looking at downsizing, you can't just, it's a little more difficult to just downsize maybe 3 or 4 classrooms when the entire cohort of kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade is 12 classrooms. So yes, you can downsize, but it makes sense to try and keep the cohort size, in other words, the class size, the same. And so when we size schools, we want the size for some expansion, for whatever reason. But when we do decide to expand it, it's tough to expand in any other way except to change it by 1 classroom for each grade. So when you change it by 1 classroom for each grade, you end up with a bigger number than just 2 classes. With 5 grades, you end up with 5 classrooms. So maybe up by 5 or down by 5. But that's typically the way we do it. And I'm just telling you how we do it.
All right, well, we'll look to see the numbers when we get the numbers back, as to what the growth rate is and what DPI is projecting the growth rate to be.
Can I interject one thing? 2 things really, since we're on this subject. Is that okay, Louis?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, pursuant to what we're speaking of, we're talking about 12% growth rate, increase in space for 12% more students. What if we have a decrease in the student population, which has been somewhat of a rate going forward? I mean, going behind, it could be the same going forward in the next coming years. State of North Carolina just passed where people can go wherever they want. Vouchers are going to be coming in soon. School choice is going to be definitely a contributing factor to a lessening of the student population in public schools, unless we have a lot of industry coming this area. What if we downsize 10%, leaving a marginal room for 2% more, and then understanding that school choice may eat into that a little bit more, leaving room for more people to come to this area through industry or whatever, or maybe 8%. When you build these schools at $383 per square foot, which is the largest number I have ever heard in building anything in Beaufort County, $383 per square foot. That's a big saving. even if we only have a 19% match, that's still a big savings for the taxpayers, a big savings for the taxpayers in North Carolina as well, which all of us are wanting.
All right,
I just wanted to offer that.
all right.
Do not forget, school choice is gonna be haunting this public school and many other public schools around the state in the next coming years.
More than likely, the public schools will have fewer students in them in the future than they've had in the past, simply because of this. They can't produce a quality product, so they can't compete.
We're here to talk about the buildings. Can stay on the topic.
You're correcting me. I have a right to say what I'm pleased, and if you don't mind, you be the chairman, I'll ask some questions. Let me back up here for a minute and state where I'm trying to go and what I'm trying to do. The last time that Beaufort County did a school bond to build schools was a $32 million bond. That was about 15 years ago in round numbers. We wound up with $40 million in that. And we wound up with that because people didn't come and ask the kind of questions that I'm asking here. We allowed a lot of people to make decisions that really had no authority to make those decisions. They just assumed it. And we wound up with a disastrous project. My goal is to see to it that this project does not go beyond $52 million. And in order to do that, I have to ask questions to make sure that everything has been considered that's in here. So the next thing that I'm gonna ask is, what about the paving of Hodges Avenue? Has that been considered in here?
It has not at this time.
Okay.
We don't consider that intersection a real good intersection to come out on the 264.
Okay. And part of that brings me to the next thing that I'm concerned about. You're gonna have 900 students over here. You're probably gonna have 600 mothers trying to pick up students at the end of the school day. You've got 3 buildings on the sketch plans that I've seen, and that's fine. Are you gonna try to put those, all of that 900 students through one door? Or are there plans that you could possibly pick up children from the far end of each of these buildings and reduce that glut considerably?
That is the present plan, yes.
It is?
Yes.
You're gonna divide them, and
Yes.
that's great. That's what needs to be done. Do you know if the electrical transmission lines and that substation over there are gonna be affected and have to be moved?
We do not intend to affect those lines in any
So
way.
there's nothing in the budget for that, all right. And we talked about contingency. In this environment, this inflationary environment, I'm gonna tell you, $900,000 contingency is not there. You know, you need at least a 5% contingency in this kind of an environment, because things can get out of hand really fast. So, the cost are the cost of the parking lots and the traffic accesses included in this budget?
Yes,
Okay, they are. All right, the cost of the fill dirt in order to level the place up and the stormwater infrastructure, they are included in the project.
yes,
All right. Security strategy for students and teachers,
absolutely.
okay? The amount that's allocated for the demolition of Eastern Elementary School building.
Yes,
All right. And I understand John Cotton Taylor School is not gonna be demolished as part of this.
It has never been on the plan to be demolished.
I thought when it first came in, we were gonna demolish 2 schools and build another school.
Never has been on the plan that I know of.
Does the school board have any plans for that building, for that school system?
Not at this time.
You're gonna give it back to the county?
The school board does not have plans at this time.
We haven't discussed what we're gonna do with it yet.
Well, the information, rather than beating on this, I've requested certain information. Your, budget estimates are, what, 5 months old?
yes,
Can those budget estimates be updated,
absolutely.
include all of these items that we're talking about?
Absolutely, and let me just speak for just a second about the process. The process that we intend to follow is to, as quickly as we can, and I'm speaking in terms of days and not weeks, is to finalize the essential construction details of the school and to finalize our situating the building on the site and to look at the preliminary design for stormwater management, grading the whole thing, and put that information into the hands of the construction professionals that I got this first estimate from. Because, you know, architects need construction help. Architects can't figure construction. They need help. And so that's what I intend to do. And I feel like I'm gonna come back with what I'm gonna call our design development estimate, which will be fairly detailed and will cover all these things.
Okay, do you think we can have this updated estimate in time for the June Commissioners meeting,
When is that meeting?
first Monday in June?
June 3rd.
I'll do my best.
Okay, it's an estimate, we understand, I understand.
Yes, sir.
your-
Look, I have the very same concerns you do about what's going on with prices, and yes, sir.
Okay. Now, included in your contract, I'd like to get a copy of your contract too.
Right, it was in last month's, meeting
Yeah.
minutes.
I wasn't
But,
here, I
yeah,
wasn't here, I
right.
was busy hurt.
It was emailed to you. It was emailed all the commissioners.
I don't think I got it. That doesn't mean I don't have it, don't know it, but if you'll email it to me again,
I can,
okay.
I'll send
Included
it
in your
back to you.
contract is the.
He'll send it to you again.
Engineering inspection that needs to be done during construction,
Absolutely.
okay? Now, the last time that we built schools in Beaufort County, one of the reasons that we had overruns that went on for some time. One of the things that we found out was even though that we had inspectors supposedly on the job doing what they were supposed to do, we had parts of buildings that were left off. We had to go back and fix those. An additional expense to the county. So we wanna make sure, in other words, your engineer is gonna sign off to the building inspector. Building inspector's not even gonna show up on the job unless he wants to. That's basically the way it works.
The city building inspector?
Right.
Well, no, we're gonna inspect it. We don't depend on the city, no, sir.
That's right.
We do all the special inspections and general inspections and cosmetic inspections and
Right.
everything.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And then your engineer signs off.
Absolutely.
Or you sign off.
Absolutely.
Get the certificate of occupancy.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. All right, well, if we can get that information along with your latest sketch plans at the next commissioners meeting, it would be very helpful, along with the information that was requested on population, so that we're not building another school a lot bigger than we need to be building. Would be great.
It's the plan. Worked hard to get it. Next steps. We hope to get the plans out by June 3rd if we can get them there. And,
We'll do our best.
and go from there. Anybody got any other questions for what we got?
Now, size of, you have got out plans to build a school. If you don't know what size you're gonna build a school yet, how are you gonna have plans for people to bid and plans for construction? You know, or you're ignoring the issue of the 20% overbill.
What was your question again?
12% overbill. Well, we're talking about having plans, ready, rushing to get plans so that we can bid or move forward with this, and that's hard to do.
It's the sketch plans, the ones you just asked for. We're just, the next steps is to have them out by June 3rd to y'all, to everybody. That's what I just said.
These are sketch or preliminary plans.
Yes,
Plans is what.
Well,
it says.
I'm sorry,
There's no
sir.
adjective in front of that,
sorry. Sketch plans out to the boards by June 3rd.
all right?
That's what the next steps are. That's what you just asked for. All right, anybody got any questions? All right, thank y'all for your time.
Next update. First Thursday of, second Thursday of every month is the next update. June 13th.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Did I do okay?
Yeah, just hang with us.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. We got it. When can we get together and talk about this?
When you want to.
Whenever you can. I'm good right now, yeah.
Mr. Secretary.
That'd be good. I'd really just like to have a few minutes and share thoughts. That's what I want. Wait till the kids out of the room.